Hey, welcome back to a new edition of Faith and Facts podcast with Big Feijo. And I'm Coach Fetzer. It's been a little bit of time. We've been away, but we're glad to be back with you and talk about an array of subjects. Big Feijo, always entertaining.
Been all my shortcomings that we haven't been airing as we should have. We should be on top of this, and I've been delinquent. You know, it's I have to confess the cares of the world, and it's not wealth that I'm fighting here. The cares of the world, man. Between the last 10 months of 4 operations and a roof needing on the house, it's like the cares of the world. I just turn around. It's like I wake up. Say, okay, Lord, the cares of the world, not leaving. It's right here, right now. At least my wife, so thank the Lord, she's doing really well, healthy. But
she's a saint.
Well, she is. But I have to tell you, she did have a breakdown.
Oh, geez.
Finally, with all my doings, too. You can only take so much of the stress. The stress I've created in the last year, but she's doing really well now. She's keeping me. She made me a tuna sandwich, so I'm all set. You know, ready to go now.
Hey,
you know,
I can do me a tuna sandwich pretty good too. That sounds really good, actually.
Well, I'll tell you what, folks. I'm excited to be back. Thanks for being patient. We had I have been sitting back waiting. A lot of great things the Lord has been doing. You know, Brian, I mean,
True statement.
I have watched a lot of it. You have another broadcast too. And that's really powerful stuff. You have some amazing talented people there.
Yeah, the Just a Cup on Believe has really started to grow, and we're fortunate to have some pretty amazing individuals on there from an array of sports, from swimming to track and field to we're going to be doing a gymnastics broadcast or gymnastics podcast here shortly. So I mean, there's some good individuals. The whole goal is to give some exposure to some sports that don't necessarily receive those kind of accolades or recognitions on the grand stage, and Believe.com's done a great job of allowing me to do that. So it's been fun.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, that last one I got to catch was you and your wife at the baseball game. How do you manage to have like fun and work at the same time? I'm telling you, that was incredible.
Hey, I will tell you what, that is such a unique. Every professional team does some kind of promotions or giveaways or something like that, and the opportunity to go work at the ballpark that the Miami Marlins put on is pretty amazing. Cincinnati Reds had all these concerts that they would have post game, which was really fun. The Marlins doing the work at the ballpark, where they you basically have a desk, you have Wi-Fi, you can put your laptop up. They let you bring your laptop into the game. There was a tech company that was to the right of us. Seats are great. I mean, they're kind of in shallow outfield. It was pretty awesome. They do it once every month. But you can get them if you live down in the Miami area. It's a pretty cool. They're not advertising. This is just a saying it's a fun thing to do, and it was fun to be able to go there and do some work. And the great thing about baseball is every once in a while you can kind of look up, you hear the sound of a bat cracking, and look up, see what happened, and go from there.
I must have lost it for a second.
Oh.
Did you lose me, or did I just lose you? One or the other.
Yeah, maybe you just lost me, which is probably a good thing, to be honest.
Good. Yeah, that's not good. Well, you mentioned a little bit about some kind of nutritional topic here, and I just threw out. You caught me. The reason I even brought up amino acids was related to my situation with recovery from all these surgeries, and and so I was just thinking about it. Why am I going through such crazy, amazing pain? And you know, it boiled down to, as an athlete, as an individual, not just as an athlete, but all people. When you have surgeries and you're immobile, the old adage, what you don't use, you use it or lose it type of thing. So, I've had a long time now, 3-4 years at least, fighting this infection and some other issues, and then the 4 operations in the last 10, 11 months. So I've had a tremendous amount of atrophy. And so the pain of the surgeries has been nothing. It's the recovery that I'm dealing with trying to overcome the atrophy. And so I foolishly, I should have known better. So I've been doing the circadian balance that you and Iron Faith Nutrition put out, and I told people to get that too. And so I've been doing it, but not like 3-4 times a day like I would tell my athletes to do. I told my athletes
Right.
that I'd have a schedule of 5 intakes a day of 30 grams of protein on average for any athlete. Because you don't want to overdo protein because of the negative effects of specific dynamic action, which is the effect of a negative cachexic effect on the body through excess caloric intake through protein. So, but on the other hand, my wife, she's a classical homeopath, and she deals with people all over the world. And one of the folks that she was on and stimulated my brain here to start overcoming my woe is me, poor me thing because of pain was that she was counseling a person from Colombia, of all countries. So, and this girl happened to be an athlete. When she was in college, she was a softball player. She was an athlete, and she got injured, broke her leg, and she was atrophy. It had a lot of atrophy while it was healing. And as soon as she went back to start playing again, that she was pushing it, she said she had a massive amount of pain, unbearable pain. And it wasn't from the break, it wasn't the bones, it was due to the atrophy. And that I just put that 2 and 2 together. Finally, when you're in the forest, you see trees, whatever it is, you don't see your own self. It's like physician heal yourself.
Right.
It's a tough thing to do. So I started thinking about it, and I said, "Oh man, well I'm doing the circadian balance, and I'm taking that, and there's plenty of protein in it." But I realized, I said, "Okay, where can I boost this? Because it's one thing to take an overall formula and supply your protein, carbohydrate, nutrient needs. Well, a lot of times you may need some others. So specifically, I said, what is it I need? What kind of supplement should I be using to boost this?" And it came simply, you want to build muscle. The people who are most interested in the branched chain amino acids are the bodybuilders. Okay,
Right.
the
Right.
bodybuilders, the powerlifters, most of the other athletes, most of us other normal people, we just go about eat a tuna sandwich like my wife maybe. Eat a piece of steak, red meat. You get some carnitine, you get some amino acids, but it's not sufficient. And there's a certain ratio you want to. And this is how bad I am. I have the bottle of branched chain amino acids sitting in my cabinet now for all these months, and I'm just like, oh, what was me?
Right.
But so the branched chain amino acid, leucine, isoleucine, valine, etc. These things are all important, and that's when I started adding to my intake because it's important for the muscle healing, repair, to build not just to make big muscles, but to repair. That's why they're called essential amino acids. And these are important aspects to include in anybody's diet. So I started adding the arginine. I haven't put the ornithine yet, glycine, lysine, all these eventually to help increase the restoring the loss of muscle tissue.
Right.
Because you know, I used to I had big legs due to heavy squats and whatnot. Now I've got big legs, but it's all adipose. This is all adipose.
It's all adipose, that's true.
There's nothing there. There's like zero there. But that's pretty much. So a lot of athletes, they probably should be increasing some of their amino acids, branched chain amino acids.
And the general individual as well. You said for branched chain amino acid, somebody that's coming back from a surgery, someone that's coming back from an injury of some sort, getting those extra branched chain amino acids in their system. BCAAs is a lot of times you'll see them on products. I mean, that's just a big positive for individuals, even if it's for a short period of time in that recovery process.
It would be powerful for building that up, for restoring muscle. It'll just help regenerate recovery faster. So I've been doing the cocoon design with I added the branch chain to the circadian balance, so I should be pretty good. Being kind
we
of
like hearing that.
I've been kind of confined to the wheelchair for quite a while, and now for a walker. And well, I tell you what, I go to physical therapy, and man, I push hard, but it's not easy. It's not easy at all. So
when you have two completely new knees, that makes a difference.
So
definitely makes a difference.
And I'm taking awesome nutrients, and other people I see all these people in the physical therapy. I see them all there. They're not taking anything. Maybe they're taking some painkillers or something else. I don't know what they're taking, but their recovery's I know it's going to take me a while, but I don't think too many of them have the trauma that I've had. So I'm pushing it. And I'm just fortunate that I've got the cocoon design and the circadian balance, and now I add a branched chain amino acids.
Well, as you know, a healthy customer isn't a customer anymore from a pharmaceutical standpoint.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they like the pharmaceuticals like to have a repeat. Take your Tylenol every week, or whatever they give you for rest of your life, So,
like I said.
But that's the way it is.
So let's talk about obviously the craziness that's going on or around the country and stuff like that now, as it always is. When you talk about from a Christian side of things, from a faith standpoint, what are some topics or what are some things that you're seeing right now that kind of come to mind?
Well, the main problem is the church. The church is the problem because there's no identity to the real church that the Lord Yeshua, Jesus Christ, established. It doesn't exist, man. It's not what people consider the church is this wood hand stubble environment. And if you have this wood hand stubble building, you go into a city. I was up in Valdosta, Georgia, at my granddaughter's wedding. Man, I'll tell you what, you can have a Baptist church on every corner. You can have another kind of church on the other corner, another corner, Catholic church here, another Catholic, this church there, that church there, here a church, there a church, everywhere a church, And the reality of it is, none of them fulfill the church that Jesus Christ established. And it doesn't matter who you are. I don't know if you know Greek, Hebrew, French. I don't care what you know. I don't care if you can recite the entire Gospel of John verbatim. It doesn't matter. If the obedience to the teachings of Jesus Christ, Yeshua, isn't there, and the doctrines of men prevail, and as soon as you see a sign outside of a building, then you know where they stand. And I tell these young believers that give me calls and they say, ask questions, and they well, this pastor says, John MacArthur says, oh, the Pope says, this one says. I don't really care what they say. What does God say between Genesis and Revelation? And the reality of it is, these people love their doctrines. God says, you love your doctrines more than my truth, more than his truth. So first thing they do is they say, well, so-and-so says there's no more apostles. There's no more gifts of tongues. They've been done away with. 70 AD, and on and on and on. You have all these teachings, eschatological teachings, abound. They just abound. And so the reality of it is, people, when you see the sign outside of a building, the church, and it says Baptist this, Methodist that, or whatever it says, okay, evangelical this, okay, the reality of it is that what I told them has taken place is that they say they have taken a black magic marker and they went through the Bible and they crossed out this. In the case of the Baptists, oh, there's no more gifts. Oh, there's no more prophecy. There's no more. Don't worry about it. Even though the Bible says to seek these gifts and that they were given for the building up of the church, oh, they put a black marker through it. John MacArthur, oh, you can go ahead and take the mark of the beast, even though God warns against it and tells you what will happen to those that do. He says, oh, you can do it. So this man with all his great teachings decides that, hey, you can take the mark of the beast. So right off the bat, his disobedience, his people who show that they're prideful of the teachings and the doctrines of men. So the reality of it is, that's taken place. The church is falling apart. And because the church has got nothing to stand on, because the truth has been eradicated, and then they've taken their pens and pencils and magic markers and drawn lines through the things that they don't like. Oh, you can't lose your salvation. Oh no, let's cross out in Hebrews where it says you can. Well, let's cross out other passages that says that, oh, if you fall away, you can never be restored. Yeah, let's cross those out. So the lying pens of the scribes has worked fervently to establish leadership that leads the way down a wide path of destruction, and that people are following it in droves. And now it's even worse because you have these feel-good Hollywood churches, basically, that put on a big show, and they have tons of people following in there, tons of money coming in, but the truth isn't there. The truth isn't there at all. It says in the last days, we were talking about the whole thing about the last days. Brian, we talked about a little bit about these athletes. So you got transvestites competing in different sports. Williams, one of the Williams girls, decided she would not compete with a transvestite. She gave up her spot. She forfeited, and good for her. She took a righteous stand. So the whole issue is about righteousness. Where's the righteousness going to fall? Is the righteousness going to fall on the teachings and doctrines of men, or is it going to fall on obedience to Jesus Christ and says, hey, all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God? What's happening then? It says right here, let's go, let me read out of 2 Timothy chapter 3. Right here, chapter 3. This is out of NIV. Some of the other verses, we have a little variance to it. It says, but mark this, there will be terrible times in the last days. People will be lovers of themselves. And mark each one of these things now and just say, Where are we at in this world? Whether it be in sport, in politics, in religion, in any aspect, science, there is no science. Uh, where Israel is standing, the whole world says will be surround Israel. Watch out. The Lord tells, it says, watch out when you see Israel, Jerusalem surrounded. That these times, the signs of the end times. So here's this: last days, people will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, disobedient to their parents. Oh yeah, you see it on TV. Kids are chopping off their mother's heads and killing them. This is crazy. Ungrateful. How many? Just take each one of these, and you can apply it infinite situations through TV and radio and things in your own neighborhood. Unholy, without love. You know, it almost tires you out thinking about this. Unforgiving. You know, a lot of people have done my wife and I a lot of injustice. And I just I told people, they come and they start talking about things that somebody's done and say, I'll tell you what, God tells me that today's enough, yesterday's gone, so I don't care what has happened, what anybody's done to you, don't hold on to it. You know, love in 1 Corinthians 13, verses 4 to 8 says, hey, love is patient, love is kind, love does not seek its own, love does not hold the wrong done it, love is forgiving. So it says they'll be unforgiving. So here's what: can't do that, folks. You've got to be forgiving. Slanderous, people who speak evil with you, the Lord talks about. Without self-control, brutal, not lovers of good, treacherous, rash, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God.
I'll tell you. I mean, one of the things
Having
you
a
mentioned.
form of godliness, but denying its power. Have not do it. Yeah, I'm
You
here.
had mentioned athletes, and I think of Scotty Scheffler, who just won the Masters. And he's been
Yeah,
very outspoken on his faith. Um, I mean, one of the quotes that he had right after winning it is said, "I'm a faithful guy. I believe in a creator. I believe in Jesus. Ultimately, I think that's what defines me the most." And a lot of athletes are starting to come out and say things, about their faith. I mean, it's
the young
becoming more and more
quarterback for the
prevalent.
Texans. The young
Yeah.
quarterback for the Texans. Oh God! I mean, he was bold as they come. Thank you. I'm telling you. Yeah, you're right, Brian. So you must be running into a lot of those athletes out there that God's given them. You know, they they recognize that they're able to do is only because the grace of God gave them talent.
I mean, I can think of several of, if you're listening and watching, if you wanted, some positive athletic role models for your kids. I mean, Harrison Butler from the Chiefs, the kicker. Benjamin Watson, who played for the Saints for a long time. I mean, Benjamin's very outspoken on his faith. Aaron Judge from the Yankees. It pains me to say that, being a Sox fan, but
I
I
know.
mean, you got to give a Yankee prop sometimes. Not very often, but just sometimes. Obviously, Scotty Scheffler, Clayton Kershaw from the Dodgers has been very outspoken on a number of subjects. Jonathan Isaac from the Orlando Magic, who really has done some amazing things. I mean, those are just some individual athletes that I can think of off the top of my head that have been outspoken and been very forthright in their stance and their faith, which is pretty awesome.
Hey, I'm grateful for that. And it's a testimony, and Jesus set them apart. They recognize their gift. The whole the whole standard is light. The Lord says that we're supposed to be the salt of the earth, And then he says, but if the salt has lost its saltiness, guess what? Hey, it's not just like a bad thing. He says it's not even worthy It's not even worthy to be thrown in the manure pile. I mean, the Lord is talking directly to those who are walking around saying, Lord, Lord. So what do you think about TD Jakes, folks? What do you think about this guy? Made millions of dollars, has 3 homes, has planes, has all kinds of fancy $10,000 clothes. Who knows how much what he has? He's just loaded with it. And he's been leading people astray for so long. When I was in federal prison, I was leading, part of a Bible study and meeting with different brothers and talking to them. And the biggest thing that came about wasn't like sin and stuff like that. Hey guys, you shouldn't be reading this or you shouldn't be doing that. It was they love TD Jakes, and I'm trying to tell them this guy's a charlatan. He's worships mammon. He's false teacher, and he fulfills this 2 Timothy 3. He fulfills that. And it says, have nothing to do with them. Have nothing to do with them. And I was trying to share that in love with them. But these people were so enamored with TD Jakes strutting around, Cephalodollar Dollar jumping on money, people throwing money at its feet. And the it's scary, man. It's scary. So to have different athletes stand up and proclaim that. And I guess some of them are getting across now. I know in the past, a lot of the networks would just shut them off. And,
yeah. I think now with the platforms that individuals have on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, and YouTube and Instagram and all the different social media aspects. I just, listened to a thing on the World Congress of Sports, and they were talking about how prevalent athletes using platforms are, how it's changed really sports and how it's changed kind of entertainment, because you don't necessarily have to be on NBC or CBS to kind of get a message or get a word out. All you got to use is a phone. Put it on your phone. There's a video. It gets sent out, and it's instant.
And that is probably, what do they call that when it takes off?
Viral.
Viral. All of a sudden, something like that viral could be more than anybody watching your broadcast.
Absolutely. I mean, and now it is. I mean, when you start looking at some of the statistical research that's done, there's views of YouTube clips that double and triple complete newscasts, because most people don't watch the news anymore because it's very one-sided, or it's very, no matter which side you're on, it's very one-sided to the other, and you're only giving a small portion of what not necessarily the truth is. It's just, hey, this is our opinion, but they present it as fact. So people stop watching it, but they're going to people's cell phones, going to YouTube, watching, clips when somebody starts talking, and they're also looking for motivation, right? I mean, it's amazing to see kind of how things have changed.
Look at Tim Tebow, when he put that John 3:16 on there. Talk about viral. That thing, I guess before the game was over, how many people, millions of people actually looked up John 3:16. So at least it went out, and who knows what kind of fruit that bears. But at least he did the righteous thing. He did the righteous thing.
The oddity of that, I watched him do an interview that talked about that whole 3:16. You call it the oddities of it, or the things that were kind of surprising. He does a clip. If you look up online, Tebow 3:16, there's a whole interview that there was like, that there was 316,000 this, and there was it was all around that number, which was amazing. Which was amazing.
Yeah, I heard something about that. Everything was 316 times.
Everything was 316.
It was evidence that the Lord's hand was behind that.
Absolutely, no question.
I think Tim Tebow is the real deal.
Oh, he seems like very authentic.
You've had contact with him too, haven't you?
I have in the past. Yeah, he's a very, very good individual. You know, Iron Faith Nutrition donates to the Tim Tebow Foundation as one of the giving ministries that we, you know, give to. So yeah, he's a special individual, and took a lot of courage to do a lot of different things that he did. Now, obviously, nobody's perfect, and I think that's something that we fail to see a lot of times. That we think athletes or celebrities or some kind of individual, your pastor, your your CEO, that they're perfect, and then they're not. They're going to make mistakes, and I think there needs to be a little bit of understanding on that.
Well, no one's perfect, that's for sure. And we're just gonna have to keep on building each other up, you know. But there's one, and we just gotta encourage one another to follow and walk in the spirit of God. This the time is coming when my people will worship me in spirit and in truth. Hey, I don't know if you can go to any place on a Sunday. I'm not saying that somebody can't be in the spirit. I'm not saying they can't get some truth. But a lot of it seems to be man-centered, and it's just it's just sad. It's just sad. But I think the weakness there is most fellowships are interested in promoting their ideology, their doctrines, and they cross out a lot of truth. And that's we're supposed to feed the sheep. He told Peter, "Hey Peter, you love me? Then feed my sheep." You know? So that's about all. And what are you going to feed them? You're going to feed them. You're going to feed them truth. But these tens of these pastors, they feed them the doctrines of men. I just heard before we got hooked up today. I was just catching something on the boob tube, and the guy that was up there said, "Well, I think," talking about, can you lose your salvation? And so the pastor goes, "Well, I think," and then he goes on to discredit the possibility that you can lose your salvation. And then another one goes on, "Well, I think," and then the third one comes in, "I think." Well, here's what I feel, and here's what I think. I think that you handle God's word falsely. You don't understand it, or you try to justify. For example, Arminian, and Calvinism. Eternal security, or you can lose your salvation. The reality of it is, you and I can pick up the Bible, Genesis to Revelation, and teach either one of those things, depending what you want to highlight, depending on what you want to put a line through. So the reality of it, they exist. They exist between Genesis and Revelation. And the problem becomes when any group becomes a denomination and says, "This is what it is. This is how it is," you know, and that's not that's lording over people. That's not leading people to follow Christ, you know. And so
There's definitely a big difference between lording and leading, and I think that's a great statement to make.
Just like a husband and a wife, right?
Correct.
We're what? Hey, this is what I think as the head of the household we should do, and I can either demand it, and we're doing this, and that's the way it is, or we're going to discuss thing, and then in the end of it, I say, "Hey, well, I think that we should do this anyway," or, "Well, let's do what you think. Let's see what the Holy." The main thing is to turn to the Holy Spirit. One of the things I came across, it was a silly. It was one of those Facebook mimes. You know, I think they call them mimes or memes or whatever they are.
Memes, mimes, all the same thing.
Memes, mimes, most. So And so basically, the meme was, I forget what I'm going to say now.
Right.
The meme mind, I couldn't help it.
Hey, I remember when I was at UVA, I called it like Facegram or InstaChat or something like that at one of the meetings, and the team trashed me for it because I got things confused. They got put together, which I thought it was. I was very much so clueless at that point in time about all the different social media aspects. I'm a little bit better now. Maybe it just comes with age, right?
Well, I'll tell you what. I see stuff from folks like, oh, Paul Bedard, alligator buddy, right? And you and my family, I get stuff. I can't. This whole thing with Messenger, I know somebody one time even called me. I got a call. I said, what the heck is this? I sound like a messenger. I'm like, so then I can't find out. Well, I was watching one of your cups.
Just the cups, yeah.
Just the cup. I was watching one of your Just the Cups, and I was getting interested in it. I don't know what happened. Something. I didn't do anything. I don't know if somebody chimed in or something came in across it, whatever it is. Then I said, how do I get back to that? I wanted to get back to that. I wanted to hear the rest of it. I couldn't find it for the life of me. So this whole thing is like crazy. But yeah, we were just talking about in general the state of the day. Let's call it the state of the day. I felt like calling my buddy Dr. Dick Alexander up and saying, hey, Doc, he was captain of the Columbia football team when we were kids. And I say, hey, your boys are hostile up there in New York City, And here they are. It's exactly what the Lord said. In the end days, they'll be called evil good and good evil. The Lord warned us that we call them good evil and evil good. And here we have the fact that these people, these kids, they're just nothing but kids. They may have an IQ that's higher than mine or whatever, but the reality of it is they're just morons. And I don't care what denomination they are. I don't care if they're gay or straight, male or female. I don't care anything about them. But obviously, they're deceived and they walk in the path of unrighteousness. And I can say that because this whole thing between Israel and Iran and the battle going on, Gaza and whatnot, it all started because Hamas and some evil people came across, raped, cut off the breast of a woman, burnt one lady, they burnt her in the streets, and all the Palestinians were watching them as they poured more gas on her, and they beheaded people. They burnt the kid in the oven. And then you have these unrighteous people standing there supporting that kind of demonism. So what started it all? Oh, Israel, but that's the way it's going to be. So and you know what? I'm even running into Christians out there who are against Israel. Christians. So, well, that's the voice they have, and my voice is God says to pray for Jerusalem, and so that's what I do. He prays. The Lord says, pray that these things do not happen in the end days, or in the end days do not happen in the winter or on the Sabbath. I pray that these things don't happen in the winter and the Sabbath. That's what God says to do, so that's what I do. So pray in your closet. I got my closet. All right. So don't let things be done before, man. Just follow teachings of Christ, and things will be better off. And you get better off. You'll definitely end up being persecuted. You'll be better off because you'll be walking with Christ in righteousness and not the righteousness of some religion or the doctrines of some pious man somewhere.
I think the next time I just thought of what we need to talk about next week is we need to talk about some of your trips, because I think people would love to hear those.
Oh, man. Yeah.
They'd love to hear about Poland and China and Israel. So we're gonna definitely talk about that next time on the Faith and Facts podcast.
I don't think they're going to believe them.
They might not, but they're extremely interesting. So I mean, that's gonna wrap up this week's episode. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Make sure you like it, share it, subscribe, comment on it. I will tell you right now, Jim reads every comment that's put on there. So if you put them up, he will read 100%.
You got to help me, Brian. I've been trying to put them up so that people can link right to my face. We talked about it earlier. I'm trying to figure out this stuff. So I want to put up the latest things. You got those little clips and stuff. I want to put them up on my Facebook. And I know there's a way to do it where they can just click it and it'll play right there.
Yeah.
But the only thing I could do is copy and paste the link.
We can get that worked out.
Yeah.
We can get that worked out. That's not a problem.
They go like this. Oh, he doesn't know what he's doing.
Hey, everybody's an expert in different forms of fashions of life. So hey, have a great one for the next time. We'll be back. Be blessed and enjoy the rest of the week.
Yeah, I'll see Coach Fetch and you as soon as possible, right, Brian?
Absolutely.
I'll try not to hold things up again.